Hello, chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov Chess Channel, and welcome to the round 9 of the Tata Steel Masters in 2023. So we're following now a very important game from this round. It's Ding Liren versus Anish Giri. Anish played really outstanding, brilliant chess so far in the super event, and Anish was only 1 point behind the leader, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, before the round 9, and Nodirbek only played a draw today, which gave now Anish Giri a huge opportunity, maybe with the win against Ding Liren, to be only half of the point behind Nodirbek. So it's now very, as I said, important game because still 4 rounds have to be played. So it's now really the critical, the most heated round of this super event. So let's see now what happened. Ding Liren with the white pieces and Anish Giri with the black pieces. Ding opened with the move knight to f3. After d5 we have g3, the king's Indian attack by Ding. So knight to f6, bishop to g2. Of course, in some occasions going into even some ideas of the Catalan opening with c4, if of course black goes in these types of structures, with the move c4, and of course opening the diagonal for the light square bishop. So now e6, the kingside castling, bishop to e7, c4. If you play of course d takes c4, then queen to a4 of course will catch again the pawn on c4. So that's why black delays the situation. The center keeps now the position compact, and here Anish secures the king by castling. So far nothing spectacular in the game. So in the continuation we have now the move b3 by Ding. He's trying to get sort of a double fianchetto style, getting these bishops on this most active diagonals. In the continuation, Anish blocks the position with the move d4. He's saying, okay, you have at least one active bishop, but now at least I'm paralyzing this other one by playing this aggressive move d4. So in the continuation now with the move e3, and now after move c5, the game basically transposed into some reverse Benoni structures. It's almost like white is playing the Benoni, but in a reversed way. So now after move c5, you have to now make a reaction. And here Ding Liren plays one of the most aggressive lines. He plays now the move knight to e5, liberates of course here the long diagonal for the light square bishop. I myself, when I played several times this line, I like this line, knight to a3, then with knight to c2, d3 and similar stuff. Maybe first d3, then as I said, knight to a3, knight to c2, then a3, b4, maybe getting some kind of a breakthrough idea on around the square b4, and with the support of the light square bishop you could have really also an aggressive game here on the queen side. So it's one of the methods of course that you can use. So okay, in the continuation, knight to e5 was played by Ding Liren. We have queen to c7, f4 supports of course the knight, but we have to notice when you advance the pawn you leave also spaces behind. So there are now weaknesses. e4, g4, d3 is a little bit weak, f2 is also weak because you have played f4. There are many times also opportunities to attack the king on the dark square diagonal. So as I said, it's a brave idea here by Ding, but it's also quite risky because you're leaving also, as I said, simply spaces behind. So in the continuation, Anish doesn't want to tolerate this annoying knight on e5. He's competing now with knight to d7, knight to d3 by Ding, and now after move e5 we have reached already one of the critical moments of the game. So far Ding plays this idea, as I said, don't be surprised so much because the knight is on the edge of the board. Actually, from this square the knight can come on b5, the knight can come on c2, so there is still a good control by this knight. Bishop to b2 is going to happen, competing of course on this line along the diagonal, because Ding is breaking now the position on dark squares, and he's now getting also the bishop into the game. So here if you play e4 from black's perspective, this is not good because white can simply retreat, and there's simply no good way to defend the pawn. You can maybe try queen to c6, but now with d3 you're getting destroyed, I think, in a brutal tactical way here. So that's why this idea is not working. You would love of course to play this move e4, but actually it is not working. So after move knight to a3 we have a6 by Anish. He's trying maybe some ideas of rook to b8 and then hit the pawn here on b5. In the continuation, bishop to b2, and after bishop to d6 now the fun already starts. So far it was really positional battle, positional struggle. You have to search for opportunities for your pieces. You're improving your minor piece positions. You're trying to search for breakthrough ideas. But now Ding plays a very aggressive move g4, and Anish plays, I think, first of all the correct choice. He plays first e takes f4. This is the way to go because you have to now at least release the pressure in the center of the game. But now after move g5, here I think Anish didn't react correctly. Actually, here he should have gone into a really wild tactical sequence, because here the best way is to go f takes e3, and after something like g takes f6 you can't even sacrifice the knight. We can play knight to f6, and after something like d takes e3 we can play bishop to g4. In the next couple moves we'll also play bishop to h2. So I think this attack by white is a little bit splashed. You have several weaknesses, although white is up a whole piece, but you're getting destroyed by this bishop's activity. Look at this. Even if you try, I don't know, bishop to f3 and similar stuff, then we can play bishop to h2. Look at this, bishop to g3, maybe bishop takes g2, king to g2, bishop to h2, and now queen to g3 is also sort of a threat. The knight is coming into the game, so too many attacking opportunities for black. I think white's king is naked and you could lose the game. So that's why, as I said, knight to e8 was played by Anish. He didn't use this moment in order to attack maybe the h2 weakness. He didn't use this moment to somehow activate his pieces, and from this point on I think after move knight to f4, from this point on Ding is much better, because look at this, the knight is a little bit out of game. You have this tension, this g5 is controlling this knight to come on f6. You will left of course to play knight to f6 and then liberate the long diagonal for the light square bishop. So as I said, now the knight is very powerful here, and you don't want to, I think, give up your powerful bishop also for the knight, because then the rook is coming into the game. We have also here this attack around the square d4, so h4, h5 could happen. This bishop is very powerful, so knight is coming into the game. So in my opinion, as I said, simply a much better position for white. So after move knight to f4, Anish goes with d takes e3, d takes e3, bishop to e5, at least competing with this annoying bishop on b2. We have queen to c2 by Ding, and now after knight to d6, rook to d1, and now look at this, after rook to e8, I think it's much easier now for white to play the game. You can have, I think, ideas of knight to h5, even knight to f6 in some occasions it's possible. Bishop to d5, knight to d5, rook to d5 is an opportunity. So look at this, the f file is open. You have weak f7 pawn. So as I said, here white is much better. So what Ding did here, I think, is very correct. He played knight to b1. He's saying every piece of mine is in good shape. My knight on a3 is not good, so that's why I want to get also the knight into the game. And from this square he's trying to have access to the c3 square, then from that point on also maybe to the d5 square, because he understood that this knight is simply too far away from the action. So that's, I think, a very important lesson maybe for beginners, because all of your pieces have to play, and I think Ding shows here the perfect example. He wants to reroute the knight to d5, and he wants to have this knight maybe to attack somehow the king set. So very nice maneuver here to b1. So now Anish goes a5. We have now the move a4. This was maybe the first really inaccurate move by Ding. He should have simply proceeded with this normal plan that he started, because after something like knight to b6 you could maybe control the d5, but now knight to d5 is going to happen anyway. Knight to d5, knight to d5, we got an extra tempo, bishop to e5, rook to e5, and look at this now with h4. This is, I think, a perfect position. You have this so powerful knight here in the center of the board. You will eventually play e4, rook to f4, rook to f1, maybe even queen to f2. You're getting some kind of an attack here on the f file. So I think the powerful knight here in the center of the board will cause really headache to Anish Giri. So this was the way to go. Really unnecessary move, the move a4 by Ding. He should have proceeded, as we said, knight to c3 and then knight to d5. Okay, a4 was played by Ding. We have bishop takes b2, queen to b2, knight to e5, and now after knight to c3, bishop to g4, attacking the rook, but this is of course protectable here. Ding plays a powerful move, rook to d5. The rook is now getting really on a good square. So in the continuation now, knight to f5 played by Anish Giri. He attacks now the pawn on e3, and now comes a new critical moment of the game. Here you saw in the last tactical sequence Anish missed this tactic because he retreated with the knight on e8. Now Ding did the same, because here from this point on I think the game turned around. Of course your e3 pawn is hanging, and many of us, I think, would do something like this, queen to f2, and probably Ding saw that after queen to f2 the game gets quite complicated, because after knight to e3 that could happen. We have here knight to e3, knight to f3 would lead into a wild tactical sequence, and actually here white is still good. White is not losing the game because you're losing the queen. You pick up the knight, you pick up many pieces, but you lost the queen, of course, and I think it's a decent compensation. But a better way to go, instead of this move queen to f2, was actually to go knight to b5, because Now the queen has to step back. If the queen steps back here to d8, b8, pardon me, then we have this one, knight to d6. After knight to d6, we can pick up now the pawn because the queen is disconnected now from the knight. If you play something like, let's go back, if you play here queen to e7, then it's a different story. Now we can play queen to f2 because after this tactical sequence that we saw, knight to e3, queen to e3, now we're playing again the same motif, but now we can play rook to f3, and okay, you will pick up the queen, but at least we can pick up your queen too, and after rook to e3, we have now two minor pieces for the rook, and I think here white should be much better. Now you play just knight to d3, knight to c5, maybe then also the b7 is weak. The knight is very powerful here, so this was the way to go here. White should be much better. So see, knight to b5 was actually the way to defend somehow this pawn on e3. This is really wild. So this Ding Liren unfortunately missed. He played after move knight to f5, he played rook to d2. He tried somehow to keep his pieces compact. Also look at this, rook to e1 is not even working because you get this one, knight to h4, and even if you try again this idea, queen to f2, look at this, knight to f3 is going to happen. So it's also a wild tactical sequence that could have happened. So the only way, as I said, to protect this position was to move knight to b5. Here Ding played even a much worse move. He played rook to d2, which gave now Anish the opportunity just to grab one pawn. After knight to e3, we have now this idea, knight to d5, knight to d5, knight to d5, but now here Anish steps back to b8, and from this point on I think black should be even slightly better because of this powerful knight. We have here an extra pawn. If the game reaches now the endgame stage, of course, they should be completely winning for black. So something went wrong in this tactical sequence. Both players missed so far one very crucial tactics. Anish Giri with this move knight to e8 in the beginning, and here Ding Liren also because he didn't play this aggressive move knight to b5. So in the continuation we have now h3, kicking away the bishop to e6, knight to f4, hitting the bishop on e6, and now a beautiful move here by Anish. We have here bishop to c4. After b takes c4, of course, you get this line, knight to c4, the fork, and I think this is not good anymore for white. Okay, you have two minor pieces for the rook, but look at this, your king is naked, and we have two extra pawns here and one extra pawn here, so 3 pawns and 2 minor pieces for the rook. I think it's a good compensation, and also we have to say, as I said, the king is naked, so from this point on I think the game would be a one-way ticket from in black's favor. So that's why here rook to f2 was played by Ding. He tried to keep his pieces on the board. He tried to at least somehow battle in this game. In the continuation we have now bishop to a6, knight to h5. Here Ding is trying maybe some ideas of knight to f6, g takes f6, somehow maybe sneak in with the queen, maybe create some kind of a tactical damage here. In the continuation Anish goes rook to e7, and now a rook to d5 here by Ding Liren simply attacking now here this knight twice. So in the continuation we have now queen to c7, and now a new mistake by Ding, queen to f5, and pardon me, rook to f5. So rook to f5 is bad because you have lost your last chance maybe to spice up the game somehow, because the better way to go is actually to go queen to c3. Queen to c3 is creating at least sort of a path for the queen to get some kind of a attacking chance here on the g file. For instance, if b6 happens, if you try to somehow really keep your pawn structure compact on the queen side, then you have this one, knight to f6. Look at this, after king to h8 we can pick up this one, rook to e5, queen to e5, rook to e5, rook takes e5, and now bishop to e8. This would be one tactical sequence. You could of course also pick up now the knight g takes f6, but now after g takes f6 it's very unpleasant because you could get this idea, queen to g3, queen to h4, maybe then later queen to h6. So there is a path, there is at least something that we can do, at least we spice up the game somehow. So you see, after move queen to c3, at least you have some kind of a chance. But in the continuation of the game, rook to f5 was played by Ding Liren, and now Anish gets out of this tactical mess. Now we have queen to c3, but it's a little bit too slow. The rook is not hanging anymore on a8, and there is of course this idea knight to f6, but now you see there is also a back rank problem in white's position. So okay, you can maybe do something, but at least we have a great control of the e file, and the rooks are coming into the game for sure. So now Anish played b6, he's protecting his pawn on c5. Here we have knight to f6, but as I said, this was simply one move too late. The tactical idea by Ding Liren. After g takes f6, we have g takes f6, knight to f3 by Anish Giri. Beautiful move, because whatever you do, for instance, if you get bishop to f3, the queen is coming here on g3 and you're getting checkmated on the first rank. If the queen picks up here the knight on f3, then we have again this idea rook to e1, and now after king to f2, you have this one, rook to e2 is simply losing the game on spot here. So really wild stuff how Anish found this beautiful move. Knight to f3 is now simply winning here for black. In the continuation, rook takes f3, but now rook to e1 anyway, bishop to f1, and after king to h8, in this position actually Ding Liren resigned. So why did he resign? Let's see possible continuation. Rook to d2. You have to, of course, cover your g file, because rook to g8 is going to happen for sure. But actually now with queen to c6, we can now create really some damage. The rook is under fire. And now after something like, I don't know, rook to g2, the queen is coming into the game. Look at this. And after something like, I don't know, rook to f2, we can get the queen here to b1. And you don't have a good protection anymore of your bishop on f1. As I said, you have to cover also the back rank, you have to cover also the g file. There is this tension, so it's simply too much pressure. So this is a position that I think you can resign. So really wild stuff how the game turned around. Anish was worst in the beginning. Ding Liren missed his tactics, but then also Anish played here really outstanding chess. He really found his tactical solutions of the game. He's now really in good shape in this event, and he's now only half of the point behind Nodirbek Abdusattorov. So still 4 rounds have to be played. Many things can change, and I think that this event should be decided when it's an equal result on the first place. Then we have additional games. We'll still have a tiebreak, like in the tournament 2 years ago, where Anish Giri lost against the Jorden van Foreest in the super final. So it was also a very epic event, moment of the Tata Steel chess event. Here, as I said, now Anish has great chances to maybe somehow catch up with Nodirbek Abdusattorov and maybe force at least some additional games. So great performance, a great game. If you want to see more games from this chess event, please check out our coverage so far. Here are some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.